Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's event. I'm Laura Dillon from MS Dynamics World, and we're here today for a session on navigating Dynamics GP in the cloud. Our presenter today is Bill Moore with Innovate, and it's my pleasure to welcome him here with us today. Now, as we get started, please know that we do welcome your questions. You can feel free to type those in at any time during Bill's presentation in the chat box that you'll see in your GoToWebinar interface, and someone from the Innovate team will follow up with you after the session. So, Bill, I guess without any further delay, I'm going to hand it off to you to get us started.
Well, thank you, Laura, and hello. My name is Bill Moore. I am the Client Executive for Cloud Services here at Innovate. Today, I'm going to talk about the #1 way to elevate your GP application. That is by moving it to the Innovate Cloud powered by Azure. And here's what we'll cover today. I'm going to give you a brief background of Innovate and maybe share some things with you that you probably didn't know. I'll share the results of a recent survey that was conducted by Dynamics Communities that we were surprised to see, and I think you will be too. We'll spend a few minutes talking about why organizations such as yours move to the cloud and the benefits that they derive from that. I'll explain our proven cloud migration process that is a result of migrating literally thousands of clients and virtual machines into the cloud over the past 12 years. And then finally, I'll share with you an offer for a very special tool that we've developed here at Innovate to assess the health of your GP environment, make some suggestions for improvements, and determine your readiness for the cloud. This tool, by the way, is used by Microsoft and many other GP partners throughout the world. So who are we? Suffice to say, we've been doing this for quite a while. This is our 10th anniversary here at Innovate. But the core cloud team has been doing this cloud migration process and management for even longer. We support about 2,500 clients worldwide, 400 team members, lots and lots of advanced certifications from Microsoft, but primarily focused on the Dynamics applications, cloud, and SQL Server. We do have a lot of experience and expertise in Power BI, and we're working feverishly on some of the newest artificial intelligence offerings that Microsoft includes, such as Copilot. Next slide, Mike. So this is some information you may or may not be aware of. We have a very close relationship with Microsoft. We employ a veteran team in our GP group with over 200 combined years of GP experience. That's significant. 50 of our team members used to be Microsoft employees, and you may not know this, but in July of last year, we went to Microsoft and hired 12 of the 15 people on their GP support team. So these are the people that when you call Microsoft for support on GP, these people answer your questions. They now work at Microsoft. Now they work at Innovate. Further, in the past year and a half, 2 years, we've hired again these 50 Microsoft alumni. Almost all of them came from the GP world. So I can tell you that today, when you receive a GP update or an enhancement from Microsoft, it came from Innovate. There's no one on earth, right, that knows more about GP than we do. Next slide. So the survey that came out by Dynamic Communities was a little bit surprising to us and may or may not be to you. Essentially, 84% of GP users were told that GP is going away. And there were a lot of misinformation that was put out a little bit by Microsoft, but mostly by Microsoft's competitors about GP being discontinued or sunsetted or going away or whatever. I'm here today to give you the real story. But before I do that, I also want to tell you from the survey that 67% of the GP users, that's you folks, said they were committing to staying on GP. That was remarkable when we read that. We suspected it, but it was remarkable when this survey came back. And then finally, some 70% of you had indicated you expect Microsoft to support GP for 5 to 7 more years. 94% of you said that you believe Microsoft will support it for 3 or more years. So it's depends on how you look at timing, but Microsoft's not going. GP is not going away anytime soon. I mentioned previously that Innovate is the company that's actually doing the enhancements and support for Microsoft in the background, for GP in the background, and we don't even know when it's going to end. but Microsoft has formally announced that GP will be supported through 2028 and beyond. So that's the Microsoft official stance, through 2028 and beyond. Here at Innovate, we suspect it's going to be well beyond that. Can't say for sure, but at a minimum, 4 years, highly likely it'll be longer. There are about 30,000 companies in North America running GP today, and most of you are reluctant to change. And so we suspect that GP will be around for a long time. Next slide, Mike. So I want to talk about Azure, and I want to just spend a minute on this. It's you probably know it's Microsoft's platform for cloud services, but it's more than just that. It's actually a suite of over 200 products and services that are designed to help you build, run, and manage your applications in the cloud. And taking a step further, it's there for enhanced security. Has great hybrid capabilities. So most of our clients have some on-premise applications and services and some in cloud applications and services, and we connect those. It provides open source support. So if you're running a Linux application, a Unix application, whatever application, right? We can highly likely we can run it in the Innovate Cloud powered by Azure. And then lastly, and Microsoft's been really good about this, especially in Azure with continuous innovation. They announced in 2023 they had over 1,000 innovations that were AI related, which is huge, right? So it's kind of some comfort knowing that you're in an environment that's continually updated and takes advantage of the latest innovations. Mike? So just a note here, some of you may not be running GP or may be running GP in other applications. In the Innovate Cloud, we host all of the Dynamics applications, including BC, your Business Central, which is the new one. And we also host a lot of applications and data for our clients that are not Microsoft related at all. So you might be running a payroll application that's not Microsoft. There's a ton of independent software vendors associated with Microsoft, especially GP. We run those in our cloud as well. So we're talking about, we call this session Elevate Your Applications in the Innovate Cloud, or Elevate Your GP applications. I get to talk to a lot of organizations, both before they migrate and after they migrate to the cloud. And I tell you, everybody is a little different, but this next slide will show you or explain to you some of the things that we hear day in and day out. So I would tell you the very first one, total cost of ownership. Nobody wants to spend more money supporting their accounting software, right? You're in business to do something other than generate accounting software, right? That's what Microsoft does, and we implement it and support it. But your business is making widgets or selling services, or you've got a product, whatever it might be. You don't want to spend more money in IT. We get that. So the Innovate Cloud, in most cases, helps you lower your IT costs. I have a lot of companies coming to me and saying, I'm really concerned that if we can't get to my application, my people can't work. There's a huge impact to my business. And you're absolutely right. This is a bigger deal than it's ever been before. And we do some things within the Innovate Cloud to make sure that you are protected. We make redundant copies of your data in your application. So even should the entire Microsoft Azure data center go down, we still have copies of your data and application and can restore it very quickly. Third one is security breaches, right? And ransomware attacks. I don't think a week goes by and we don't hear from somebody saying, help, I've been affected by a ransomware attack. I don't think so many people are paying ransom anymore, but they got to get their data back. We cannot guarantee that you won't have a security breach. We cannot guarantee that you won't be impacted by ransomware. I want to make that very clear. But we have a lot of tools and processes in place in the Innovate Cloud to help mitigate the chance of that happening. So it's very unusual for us. In fact, I don't know of a situation today when you're in the Innovate Cloud powered by Azure that you've had a security breach or a ransomware attack. I'm not saying it can never happen because end users can do not so intelligent things, right, to cause a problem, but put a lot of tools in front of that environment to help mitigate that. This fourth one, I hear every single day from every single organization I talk to. Nobody wants to change their accounting software. I've never had a CFO come to me and say, hey, Bill, I'm really excited. I'm going to change my accounting software. And all the people on my team have to learn a new package and we're going to change processes. I mean, I'm making it silly, but nobody wants to do that. If you move your GP application into the Innovate Cloud powered by Azure, it's your GP application, it's your data, nothing changes. It's just in a more powerful and more secure environment, and it's fully managed. And then this last one is, how do I prepare for the future without spending a lot of money now? You may or may not be aware of the relationship between Microsoft and OpenAI, which is a company that bought us ChatGPT and now ChatGPT-4 and a host of other applications that are coming out. Microsoft has a $13 billion with a B dollar investment in OpenAI. ChatGPT is pretty much in every application that Microsoft sells, right? Even in Word and Office and Outlook, and it's everywhere. I don't really know for sure what artificial intelligence is going to mean to us with regards to your accounting application, but I do know that if I were going to put my application somewhere, I want to put it in a cloud environment where it's safe and secure and powerful, and that it's managed and run and owned by the company. It's leading the efforts in terms of artificial intelligence. You might even see that Microsoft just made some more announcements about applying artificial intelligence functionality to consumer items. So you'll see it in everything that Microsoft does these days. And by the way, when you look at Copilot for Microsoft, that's actually ChatGPT in the background. So very strong reasons to help you ensure that you're prepared for the future by putting it in the Innovate Cloud powered by Azure. Okay, so once you make this shift, what happens? I want to tell you about Innovate's process for migrating to the cloud. We've done this, I mentioned, literally thousands of times, and I think it's important to note this. We have developed a plan as a result of all these migrations to ensure that it's seamless to you. Right? So the first thing we do is we assess your environment, we assess the applications. GP is easy because we moved it so many times, but you may have some other applications you're going to move as well. So we have some tools that we run on your environment to make sure that everything will come over. We may even come back to you and say, you know, you're running FRX, don't do that, run Management Reporter. We've seen some tools out there that just need to go away, and we'll tell you that before we migrate. We combine that with some best practices that we've developed over the last 12 years. So today, cloud migrations are a pretty easy and fast process. It's typically done overnight. So your users log out at 6 p.m., they come back at 7 a.m. the next morning, and everything is just as it was before, only it's faster and it's more secure. So the second component is we test and migrate, right? We set up or build out the Azure environment exactly, I would say exactly, it's typically exactly as you have it. We'll look at your environment before we build out the new one, and typically we'll make some recommendations from optimization. We often find that you have to buy for your peak demand. So if you're on premise, you've got to buy SQL Server is probably the best example because that's where all the work is done in GP. But you have to buy for your peak demands. You can't just shut down when you get real busy. Azure is flexible. So we might say, you know what, you don't need whatever size processors or whatever, how much RAM or this disk size. We can cut down and make it a little bit smaller and still give you all the efficiencies. Then we perform the migration. And this is done with a tool developed by Microsoft. It's pretty robust. And we simply pick up your applications and your data, move it over, and set it back down in the new environment in Azure. In most cases, depends on the size of your database. In most cases, it's minutes, less than 60 minutes. Once it's migrated, we do some testing. We'll ask you to do some testing, some key users perhaps, and then we evaluate and make sure that everything's okay, and then test again. And then the final migration is, again, we move the final application over, fully optimized. We deploy our management tools, so we manage it 7 by 24 by 365, and those are agents that sit on those virtual machines. and they tell us things like, we set thresholds, and tell us things like, well, SQL is being utilized at 95%, so your CPUs are running real hot, or memory is pegging at 98%, and that's going to impact some of your performance. So we can come back to you and say, hey, what were you doing last night at 9 p.m. because your SQL server was highly utilized and looks like a problem. Well, we were running this special report that we just developed, and okay, that makes sense. You may need to add some resources to your server, or we may need to optimize that report and find some better ways to run it. Once you've been in the Azure environment for a while, we review the usage. We've got some pretty unique tools that provide by Microsoft and by Innovate, and it allows us to adjust that environment and optimize it. So it minimizes your spend, right? There's no need to pay for a compute resource that's never utilized. Microsoft did a study a while back and found that the average server is 32% utilized. That's a lot of processing power that just sits there that you pay for when you're on-prem. In Microsoft, in the Azure, the Innovate Cloud powered by Azure, we can prevent that, make it much more efficient. Okay, next slide, Mike. I get this great opportunity, right, to talk to clients both before they migrate to the cloud and after. And sometimes it's a year after, 3 years after, even 5 years after. I mentioned we've been doing this for 12 years. So sometimes it's literally 12 years after they migrated to the cloud. And I typically ask, did we meet your objectives? Did we lower your costs? Did we enhance security? Did we improve productivity? And I'm going to share with you what our clients tell us on this next slide, and we hear it over and over, right? They really appreciate this more secure and higher performing environment. I will tell you, 99% of the time, once they migrate to the Innovate Cloud, I get a phone call and say, wow, this SQL job used to take 2 hours, now it runs in 8 minutes. I mean, it's literally that much faster. I talked about this ability to manage the consumption and resources at lower costs. That's a big winner and a big game changer for moving to the cloud. You don't have to spend money on additional servers or IT infrastructure anymore, right? That's all managed in the background. Microsoft updates those servers, so you're always kind of on the latest and most current environment. Should you desire, you can bring your own SQL Server licenses, Windows Server licenses. Most clients will bring their GP application licenses rather than repurchasing. That's fine. You already own them. Business continuity, we try not to think of disaster recovery. You should not have to recover from a disaster. That's why we replicate the entire environment, typically to a different data center. So even should an entire data center go down, we still have all that data and applications. We can restore it very quickly. But more importantly, because we monitor and manage this 7x24, we typically identify issues before you're ever impacted, and we can address them and fix them. So business continuity is critical. And this is our clients telling us this. So we guarantee 99.95% uptime. And that translates to less than 23 minutes a month of downtime. And when we don't hit that guarantee, there's a credit against your account. So very rarely do we pay that credit. We don't like to do it, but our environment is set up so that it almost never happens. We talked a little bit about Azure is actually a suite of 200 products and services. So there are things within Azure that once you're in the Azure cloud or the Innovate Cloud powered by Azure, you get access to a lot of security tools, security event and incident management tools, logging. The list is huge, and new ones come out every single day, but it's a great place if you want to make sure that you can meet the demands of the future. It's right there in Azure as it stands. This is an important one. I think I mentioned we help clients migrate to the new D365 Business Central application as well. It's kind of where Microsoft is going at some time in the future, and it's typically a software as a service application. So you pay a monthly user fee, and that's all you pay. And it's great, by the way. It's still evolving. It's still growing. But if you want to maintain GP in the Innovate Cloud, you retain full ownership of your business information. When you put it in a software as a service environment, it's sitting elsewhere, right? the Innovate Cloud, whether you put GP in the Innovate Cloud or you move to Microsoft's Business Central, you can leverage Microsoft's data center investments, and it's huge, right? There are about 90 Microsoft data centers throughout the world. They all have multiple power grids, multiple internet connections. If you ever want to visit one, it's a great experience. You have to make reservations well in advance. You have to be escorted through the data center the entire time. It's just a whole lot of built-in security measures that you would never think of. So leverage that expense and that investment that Microsoft has made in data centers. Listen, I have a lot of folks say, you know what, I like my data stored in my office where I can control it. I'm sorry, I'm here to tell you that's not the most secure place for your data. Things can happen to your building, things can happen to your server. I happen to live in Florida. We get hurricanes, although I've seen in the last 10 years, more of the hurricanes hit other states in the country. People can't get to their offices. We have a number of clients in the wine industry. Napa has experienced horrible wildfires in the past few years. And sometimes offices, this is awful, but sometimes they burn down, right? Or you can't get into them for a month. Once you're in the Innovate Cloud powered by Azure, as long as you can get to the internet, you can get to your business applications and run your business. So you can get it from Starbucks, home, grandma's house. It doesn't matter, right? In fact, everybody today typically has a hotspot on their phone. So everybody can get to the internet pretty much all the time. We'll never say that you're going to remove people, but clients come back to us and say, you know, I was able to take these 2 people that were managing my IT environment and put them on more strategic initiatives within my organization that helped increase revenue. And that's a key. I love it when I hear that. Keep in mind that we get industry regulations, government regulations, constantly new ones come out. Some in recent years, things like GDPR, which is General Data Protection Act, says that you can't allow any outsider to get access to personal information. There are a number of government regulatory challenges that organizations have to face. And I don't know what your organization might have to face in the future, but it's nice to know that in the Innovate Cloud powered by Azure, today we meet over 90, I think it's now over 100 government regulatory challenges for security. And that continues to increase. And then finally, I want to spend a minute on this one. I love it when clients tell us this, but some of them will say, yeah, Bill, you were right. We did lower our costs. Yes, we did improve our productivity. Our systems run faster. I feel much more comfortable that the environment is secure now. But the big advantage was I can forget about IT and focus on my core business. And I probably have had 100 clients tell me that's invaluable to them. It wouldn't matter what the cost was. That was the most critical part. So I hope some of those resonate with you. If they do, and I'm happy to dig into them deeper and share with you some very specific experiences our clients have had. My contact information is at the end of this slide deck. But I want to share one more thing with you, and that is a special offer that we have for you today. This is a GP health check that Innovate has developed. In fact, it runs on some of the other Dynamics applications from Microsoft as well. But we'll talk today specifically about GP. The link right is down at the bottom of the page, innovate.com/dynamics-gp-health-check. We say it gives you a clear picture of your current ERP application and a roadmap, how you can utilize technology to help your organization meet its goals. It does a lot more than that. That's kind of the high level view, but we run it and it'll tell us some things that many clients were not even aware of about your data in your GP environment, some things that need to be addressed, some things that might not impact anything until your year-end closing. And so our team, I mentioned that we hired the Microsoft GP support team, 12 of those people. We added to that. Our GP support team today is somewhere around 27 people. I don't know the exact number, but these folks use that tool to help diagnose issues. And then we also use it to help determine what it would take to migrate to the cloud. And we go over the results with you. It's your data. We don't take your data. We just take snapshots of metadata, but come back to you and give you some recommendations for improving your environment. And should you decide that you want to move to the cloud, this is a great first step. We can come back and say, based upon the information, this is what it will cost you to do the shift. This is what your ongoing monthly costs would be. That's all I have to say today. I want to thank Laura Dillon from MSDW for giving me this opportunity. And again, on my last slide, the last slide here is my email address and other ways to contact us. I would love to hear from you. Laura, back to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Bill. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us today and share your expertise on this topic. If you did have a question, you can look forward to individual response from someone on the Innovate team. And we did record today's event, and we'll be making that available as well. So with that, we're going to end it there. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.